All right, let's dive into this behavior adjustment training, BAT 2.0, right? We've got Grisha Stewart's work here, and this librarybook.io summary is, wow, this is way more than just, the sit, stay, fetch stuff.
Oh, yeah.
This is a whole different way of thinking about training, isn't it?
It really is. It's kind of a whole, it flips the script on how we think about, traditional training. Instead of focusing on suppressing behavior, it's really about, getting down to the why. Why is the dog doing this? And how can we help them, communicate what they're uncomfortable with and make different choices and build a stronger bond, really.
I love how much this is all about understanding the dog's perspective. Like the summary even talks about things like yawning and lip licking or even turning away as signs of stress. I'm like, wow, how many times have I missed those with my own dog?
Oh, absolutely. It's like we've been speaking different languages, and this helps us to finally crack the code of canine body language. When they're relaxed, happy, loose, wagging tail, soft eyes, you'll know it when you see it.
Yeah.
But being able to see those little signs, like you said, the yawning, the lip licking, the turning away, we can start to see, okay, there's something else going on here.
And it's not just the dog, right? It's the summary talks about our body language.
Absolutely.
As the handler. Tense human, tense dog. I know I need to work on that.
We all do. Dogs are incredibly perceptive to our energy. I mean, think about it. If you're feeling anxious or stressed, they're picking up on those vibes and mirroring them right back to you. And so this is where we kind of come in and make sure we're mindful of our posture, our breathing, even our facial expressions. It's all about creating a calm, reassuring presence for them.
So we've got the communication side. Now, when it comes to the actual training, there's a very specific kind of environment that we set up. Right?
Yes, absolutely. We want to start in a quiet, familiar location, minimal distractions.
Oh.
So this could be like a secluded part of a park, a quiet walking trail, or even your own backyard if it's relatively calm. But it's all about minimizing distractions and really setting them up for success.
Okay, makes sense. Minimize the things that might set them off. But then you've got this long leash.
Yes.
The summary mentions 15 to 30 feet.
Yes.
I mean, wouldn't we want more control, especially with a reactive dog? That seems almost the opposite.
Right. And it might seem counterintuitive, but that long leash is actually giving them a sense of freedom and choice, which is essential in BHEC 2.0. So instead of feeling trapped or restrained, they can move away from something that is making them uncomfortable. It's about building trust and allowing them to participate, rather than forcing them into compliance. I mean, think about if someone was dragging you towards something that you were scared of, right?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense when you put it that way. So it's not about preventing them from reacting. It's about giving them the space to make a different choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because they have that freedom to move, that long leash also allows us to gradually decrease the distance to that trigger as they're remaining calm.
Okay.
So we're doing controlled exposure.
Gotcha.
So dipping their toes in the water instead of throwing them in the deep end.
All right, so we've got the setting, we've got the long leash. I'm curious about the techniques themselves. Can you give me an example of, like, what does this look like in action?
Sure. One of the key techniques is loose leash walking. And it's not about yanking or jerking. It's really about maintaining a gentle connection while giving the dog that freedom to explore. I kind of think of it like almost like ballroom dancing.
Oh, I like that.
You're connected to your partner, but there's a flow and freedom in the movement.
And timing, right. Timing seems to be pretty crucial in all this.
Absolutely. Timing is everything. We call it impeccable timing because we want to reward the good choice in that very instant. So whether it's, a glance away from that trigger or a relaxed body posture, we want to make sure we're marking and reinforcing that right away so they can connect the dots between their actions and that positive outcome.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because we think about rewards, we think, okay, treats, right? But, you're talking about rewarding, and it's not always about the treat, is it?
It's not.
Yeah.
It goes back to understanding what's really motivating for dogs. And in BAT 2.0, we talk about something called the functional reinforcer.
Okay, that sounds a little technical, but break that down for me.
It's actually pretty simple. The functional reinforcer is the relief or the positive experience that they get after exhibiting the good behavior. So, for example, let's say you're walking your dog. They're reactive to other dogs, and they see a dog in the distance, and they look away calmly, right? The reward isn't just the treat that you might give them. It's the feeling of continued safety and relaxation that they get by not reacting. So they're learning that this situation, the thing they used to fear, actually predicts good things happening, and so their emotional response to it changes over time.
So it's not just about them feeling relief in that moment. It's about creating a positive association with something that might have been scary before.
Exactly.
Almost like rewiring their brain with good feelings instead of fear.
I love that. That's a great way to put it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. This is full of fascinating insights
This is blowing my mind.
into dog behavior.
I'm dying to hear a real life example. And you mentioned Bella, the case study in the summary. This rescue dog that had some really intense reactivity issues. I think her story will really help us understand how this all comes together.
Absolutely. Bella is a fantastic example of the power of Banch 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
She came from a really rough background and had some pretty severe reactivity to like everything. Strangers, other dogs, you name it.
Yeah.
And her poor owners had tried everything.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And they were at their wits' end.
I can only imagine. So how did BAT 2.0, how did they find this?
Well, they started by, really understanding her triggers. They would carefully set up these training sessions where she could experience those triggers, but from a safe distance,
Yeah.
Not feeling overwhelmed. And of course, that long leash.
Right.
So she always had the option to move away if she needed to.
So right away, respecting her need for space, giving her that choice,
Absolutely.
not forcing a confrontation, but just letting her kind of handle it on her own terms.
Exactly. And the amazing thing is, she started making different choices.
Hmm.
Instead of immediately reacting, she would look away, she'd sniff the ground, she might even wag her tail a little bit.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how encouraging that was for her owners
Those are huge wins.
to finally see those little glimmers of progress?
And each time she made a good choice, they'd reinforce that calm behavior. Was it always treats, or were there other ways to kind of reward her?
Well, treats can be helpful, but remember, it's about that functional reinforcer.
Right.
It's that feeling of relief that Bella experienced by choosing not to react. That becomes its own reward.
Interesting.
She's learning that, staying calm actually feels better than this whole reacting
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's not about suppressing her instincts. It's about changing her emotional response.
Wow. Bella's story is so inspiring.
Isn't it?
It makes me think, okay, how do we take this out of, the perfect training scenario and into real life?
Yeah.
Because let's be real, life with a dog is not always a perfectly controlled training session.
Right. Exactly. And that's where the true power of BAT 2.0 lies.
Yeah.
It's not just, these techniques. It's a way of thinking about our relationship with our dogs.
Okay.
We could apply these principles to, our walks, greeting visitors at the door, even just playing with our dogs.
Okay, give me some examples. Let's start with walks, because that seems to be like, that can be a minefield for reactive dogs.
Yeah.
I'm out with my dog. We see another dog approaching. What's my first move?
Your first move is to tune into your dog's body language. Are they showing any of those subtle signs of stress that we talked about? Or are they relaxed and comfortable? Your dog is constantly communicating with you. It's just a
Right.
matter of learning to listen.
Okay, so let's say my dog is getting tense.
Okay.
Tail's tucked, ears are back. What do I do next?
All right, this is where those loose leash skills come in. So give your dog some space.
Yeah.
Create some distance between them and that approaching dog.
Yeah.
This might mean crossing the street, changing direction,
Yeah.
whatever it takes to kind of avoid that head-on confrontation.
Right, so we're not forcing them to face their fears.
Yeah.
We're giving them the option to create distance, and I got to make sure I'm staying calm too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they can sense that tension.
Right. Imagine how frustrating it would be if someone was dragging you towards something that you were scared of, right?
Yeah, no, not fun.
That's why the long leash and our calm energy are so crucial here. You're showing your dog, hey, I understand. I got you. We're going to figure this out together.
What if, despite my best efforts, they react?
Well, it's important to remember that setbacks are part of the process. Nobody's perfect.
True.
And dogs are individuals. They have their own, personalities, their own learning curves. Don't beat yourself up if it doesn't go perfectly every time. The important thing is to learn from it and just keep practicing.
So if my dog does react, what's the best way to handle it?
If they react, simply create more distance, redirect their attention with maybe a treat or a toy, and then try again when they're calmer.
Okay.
Remember, it's all about building those positive associations and teaching them that they have options. You're not punishing them for reacting. You're just guiding them towards better choices.
So staying flexible, adjusting as we go, and these same principles, we can apply this to other stuff too, right? Like visitors at the door, that's a big one.
Ugh, yes, the dreaded doorbell.
I mean, some dogs just go bonkers.
They do.
How do we use this to manage that?
Okay, so first, have your guests ignore your dog completely when they arrive.
What?
Yeah. Let them enter calmly, avoid making eye contact, and definitely no rushing in to pet the dog right away.
So just act like the dog's not even there.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
This gives your dog a chance to kind of observe from a distance, process what's happening, and
Yeah.
then allow your dog to approach at their own pace, rewarding them for any calm behavior,
Right.
sniffing politely, sitting quietly,
Okay.
with treats and praise.
So just like with the walk, giving them control of the interaction.
Right.
Rewarding them for making good choices. This is fascinating. Can we even apply this to playtime?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about incorporating those same principles.
Oh.
Choice, positive reinforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of forcing your dog to play fetch or tug of war, let them choose the game. Let them choose the pace.
So if they bring me a toy, that's them saying, hey, let's do this.
Exactly.
Okay.
And, when they engage, reward them with, enthusiastic praise, gentle petting, maybe a quick tug.
I never realized, how much this could impact, every aspect of
Yeah.
our relationship with them.
It can.
It really is about so much more than just teaching commands, isn't it?
It is. It's about building a partnership
Right.
based on mutual respect and understanding. And that's where we get to the heart of what makes B 2.0 so special. When we think about B 2.0 being about choices, it really makes you think about how we view our relationship with dogs. It's not about us controlling them. It's about collaborating with them.
Yeah, it's such a shift,
Right.
away from that old idea of dominance and more towards
Right.
recognizing them as these sentient beings
Oh,
with their own
funny.
thoughts and feelings.
Absolutely.
And if we're encouraging them to make choices, it forces us to step up our game too. Be
Right.
more mindful.
Be more aware.
Yeah, respectful of their needs.
And what's so fascinating is that it actually leads to a much deeper bond.
I bet.
When you understand their perspective and you're working with them instead of against them, you build this relationship built on trust and mutual respect.
We're becoming fluent in dog, not just teaching them to understand human.
Right.
Man, this whole deep dive has been incredible. But for our listeners who are okay, I want to try this.
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways they can start using today?
I would say the first step is become a student of your dog.
Hmm.
Really pay attention to their body language. Learn to recognize those subtle signs of stress and discomfort, as well as those indicators of relaxation and happiness. It's like learning a new language, but it's a language that can really deepen your connection with your dog.
We've been given a decoder ring for all those little,
Yeah.
wags and yawns and ear twitches and all that.
Exactly. And embrace that idea of choice. Give your dog options, even in the simple things,
Yeah.
which direction to walk, which toy to play with, and remember that long leash. That's a powerful tool for giving them the freedom to make choices and learn at their own pace.
Okay, yeah.
And lastly, be patient. This is a journey, not a destination. There will be bumps in the road, but with a compassionate approach and a willingness to learn, you and your dog can do amazing things together.
As we wrap up this B8 2.0 deep dive, I'm thinking, this could apply to so much more than just dogs.
I think so too.
What if we approached all our relationships with that same, empathy and respect?
That's such a great point. I mean, that really speaks to the heart of what this is about, recognizing the individual needs, that agency of all living beings, really. It's about understanding, communicating, and finding solutions that work for everyone involved.
Well said. This deep dive has given me so much to think about with my own dog and just, how I interact with the world. I hope our listeners feel the same way. And maybe, just maybe, it'll inspire you to take a look at your own furry friend with fresh eyes, see that potential for connection in every wag of the tail, every happy bark.
Until next time.